Okay, but if you're building a magical girl, like truly a magical girl, what lineage are you starting with to get yourself a magical girl?
Okay,
What's that build look like?
Welcome back to D&D Beyond. I am Amy Dallen, and I have brought back one of our favorite people, Saige Ryan. How are you doing today?
Oh my god, that was such a lovely introduction. Hi, I'm doing wonderfully. How are you?
I am very good because today I get to talk to you about one of your favorite things. One of my favorite topics, which is new toys for our D&D toolbox. In this case, we are going to talk about the new player options coming our way in Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, which is coming out for early access in November and everywhere in December. And specifically, we have a Lunar Sorcerer. Lunar Sorcerer by itself has some really fun flavor to it. So we're gonna test some flavor combinations, some delicious pairings, if you will, of what we want to build when we get the Lunar Sorcery subclass. So Saige, first thoughts looking at this new kind of sorcerer that draws power from the moon, or in the case of Kryn and Dragonlance, moons, to fuel a range of interesting abilities that shift with the phases of the moon that you choose to tap into. What do you think?
I love this. For all of my fellow druid players as well, that are constantly pestered for only playing druids, this is your cheat. I am obsessed with this. This is one of the subclasses I've been most excited for in a good while.
The Sorcerer subclass, as we are getting it in Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen, for use in your epic war stories or anywhere you're playing your D&D games, is going to have some interesting features that, as we mentioned earlier, divide up by the phases of the moon. And you will be able to change which one you are kind of attuned to. Although, as Jeremy Crawford says in a video that you should check out on how this subclass works, a lot of people will have one phase they might feel more at home with. So let's start with the full moon. The full moon is bright, the full moon is shining, and in the case of the Lunar Sorcerer's full moon, it's going to give you some advantages that are going to bolster spells from certain schools. Schools of abjuration and divination are associated with the full moon phase. So that's going to be illuminating things and protective qualities. So I thought when I get my hands on a full moon sorcerer, it might be fun to multi-class that up with like a paladin. Cleric could also be good, but paladin, charisma, there's some nice crossover there. There's a lot of moon deities that you could be associated with, so I was feeling like the faithful of the moon would be a good combo for this.
Ooh,
what do you want to do?
Fun. My first thought was a Sorlock. I feel like a lot of the time for sorcerers, my first thought is a Sorlock. I'm a huge fan of the roleplay options for something like that. Your standard, I was a warlock, I pledged for power, and I found my own somewhere is such a fun pathway into magic. And I also, a lot of people view the moon in itself as a deity. So I think that there is an interesting combination of the two there that you can do with a warlock pact that provides your ability, but the way that you pledge yourself to moon or moons could, I think, create something very, very juicy and devoted, much like a paladin, but to your magic that it provides you.
Our next moon phase is going to be the new moon, the opposite, where it is only night sky, and the new moon is associated for us with evocation and necromancy spells. And evocation are your blasty, kill it with fire. And necromancy, a little self-explanatory, a little on the creepy side. Saige, what do you want to do with some new moon flavor tie-in?
This is so tough. I actually love the idea of a paladin for this. I think
I
if
have
I'm
warlock for this.
I love this. And that makes sense, especially when you think on like the necromancy side of it. A lot of people associate warlocks with the darker sides of magic. I looked at this and I was like, if I'm building to fight, a paladin sorcerer combination is, in my opinion, the most powerful thing I can build if I know that I'm going up and I'm going in for high damage and I'm going in for a heavy combat session. So something like that, I think is really fun. I'm thinking like an Oathbreaker paladin that does something kind of spooky.
I love that very much.
I want to know which warlock.
Oh, you know what? I think I would like, this is messed up. I would like to do a Warlock of the Great Old Ones with this. I want it to be like a moon you will never see because it is on a plane that you do not want to go to. I like the idea of that kind of twisted divine stellar body connection fueling your warlock. I think is what I would like to see. Just nice and twisted.
That's so fun.
For the third phase, and of course your sorcerer can switch between these, which is one of the things that's going to make this one. It could be intimidating at first, but once you get the hang of it, you're going to be like, oh, I got a mode for that. And my third one is going to be the Crescent Moon. This phase for your Lunar Sorcerer is associated with illusion and transmutation spells. So this is going to pair well with anything that you're leaning into trickery, anything that you're leaning into illusion. It's going to make some of accessing special things around that a little bit easier for you, reduce some friction around getting to that stuff, and grant you some new things, as of course this subclass is going to come with some enhanced spell list for this sorcerer, which we'll learn more about. What would you like to do with the Crescent Moon phase?
So of course, the natural first thing that I think of is an Arcane Trickster Rogue. The Arcane Trickster Rogue Sorcerer combo is awesome. It again creates a lot of fun roleplay opportunities, but I really feel like it would maximize leaning into what you can do, and you're not getting pulled in two separate directions by it. You're all in on Loki at that point.
We should just probably start calling it like the Lunar Trickery for this combo, because I feel like I'm going to try it, you're going to try it. A lot of us are going to be rolling up one of these as soon as we have our hands on the Lunar Sorcery subclass. I did also think it might be fun to lean into the sort of playful side of it with some bard combos. As long as we're,
fun.
Again, coming in with charisma.
I've never played a bard. I'm just going to come out and I'm going to say it. I've never played a bard.
Come to the bard side.
And I've never played a bard. I've played almost... I was talking to you beforehand. I have played every subclass of sorcerer up to Lunar now. I have played every subclass of sorcerer. I have played every subclass of druid. I've never played a bard.
Oh, I'm gonna make you play a bard, and it is gonna be so much fun.
I'm terrified someone will ask me to sing.
There's so many ways to do performance checks. It doesn't always...
It's so true. And if you're looking at something like the College of Spirits in particular, you have a different specialty. You have your College of Glamour. You have all of these wonderful... College of Whispers as well. I've looked at it so many times. I always pick up another sorcerer or druid instead.
Maybe this will be the thing that sneaks you over. So we've been talking about some fun multi-class options for these three phases, but of course that's not the only thing you get to mess with when you're building your sorcerer. So I was looking at what might be fun to pair with this in terms of our other player options, and I was thinking, I always start with flavor. We've got a Lunar Sorcerer, so there are a lot of things that are going to pair nicely with the moon. A water-based option, like playing a Triton or a Sea Elf. You could have a real cool relationship with the moon around you based on the tides. You can play, of course, it's the spooky season. You want to be a shifter? You want to be a shifter that changes with the phases of the moon?
Ooh, that's good.
I think there's some fun stuff there. What about you? Did you have anything in mind that you want to see come to life with your Lunar Sorcerer?
Okay, the first thing that came to mind for me is not necessarily about it being beneficial to the class, but the concept of a tiefling, somebody coming up from like the 9 hells and being exposed to these moons for the first time and being so overcome with it that they are imbued with this power is really cool to me. Somebody that would not have grown up around these moons or would not have grown up around wherever setting you're playing in their moon. And as soon as they came to the surface, something was like awoken inside of them or activated that they couldn't when they were in the abyss or wherever they come from.
That is so much fun.
I'm gonna build that.
And I had my eye on Tiefling because I love the idea of like using your hellish rebuke from Infernal Legacy, but like comboing it with when you're the new moon sorcerer, so you're blasting everything anyway, and you get like a little bit of extra fire. Come on.
That's so good. I love that about this. I think there was a good possibility that in some way this ended up being that there wasn't the ability to switch between, and I think it's so freaking cool that you can. I think that that's such a wonderful opportunity. This character's never gonna get boring.
Oh, and that actually was another thing that I had in mind, because I love a lot of the options that we have, like the Eladrin, that also let you change. So while that could get way overwhelming, I love the idea of being like, today I'm this season in this phase. I'm gonna be someone different tomorrow. Good luck. Like,
I love that. That's so wonderful. The other one that I was thinking is a Warforged would be also really fun, in that same idea of it was built in some way as a contraption that harnessed the power of the moon. And that was its destiny. It was built to be that. It was built maybe even as something that wasn't supposed to be an animate object. It was supposed to be just some kind of contraption to harness it for someone else. Maybe there was a powerful wizard that was harnessing the power of the moon and it was like, oops, I'm a person now.
I love that. What a great foundation for your future adventures. And that source that you will always be able to call on. And of course, I gotta be me. I am who I am, and I'm very excited to someday say, in the name of the moon, I will punish you.
Absolutely.
You know, it's, we got a lot of Sailor Moon or other pop culture places we can go with this, including werewolves and other spooky things for this Halloweenish season.
Okay, but if you're building a magical girl, like truly a magical girl, what lineage are you starting with to get yourself a magical girl?
Okay,
What's that build look like?
Is it specific? See, I could do this for all of the different Sailor Scouts, and it's gonna be different, is
right,
the thing.
Of course.
Because, you know, I mean, Mercury's either a wizard or an artificer right off the bat. But,
yeah.
like,
let's say we're building Sailor Moon herself as a Lunar Sorcerer.
See, I think they're also, like, a lot of magical girls are also warlocks. Because they've got the powers. They have patrons very often.
Okay, so she's a Sorlock. Kalishtar?
Oh, I like it. Why Kalishtar?
I think that the Kalishtar have this, like, I play a reskinned Kalishtar named Effie on failed save, and instead of it being access to the dream plane, because they have these, like, memories of past lives, she was in, like, a cataclysm of time. She's a chronergy wizard, and she, in her sleep, remembers the other people that she, like, merged with, essentially. So I think that there's a fun, Kalishtar is such a fun one for me to take and make your own, especially in a homebrew setting. And I think there's something very, very ethereal and magical about that storyline that comes with them to play with.
See, I'm sold. That is a beautiful option to go. Often the deep memories are part of the story. And this is just a taste of the possibilities that are coming our way when we really get our hands on the Lunar Sorcery subclass when Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen comes out. Of course, it's not just a subclass. We're also going to get the backgrounds and feats to be a Knight of Solamnia, a Mage of High Sorcery, to play as a Curious Kender. Out of that group, Saige, is there something that jumps out that you can't wait to try?
Oh my god, it all sounds so wonderful. I love a mage. I'm always gonna look at that and I'm gonna be like, I'm not necessarily a hitty smashy boy all of the time, but I love getting my hands on new kinds of magic and new ways to get them.
We will have a lot more to say about those. They've taken a classic piece of Dragonlance lore and turned it into a new structure you can learn a little bit more about for getting your hands on some of the powerful magic that might help you to stay alive in the fairly dangerous world of Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. It is a world at war. It has ended before. It may end again. We will see what happens when you put it in action at your table. And until then, Saige, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you?
You can find me everywhere on the internet at NotSaige, or you can find me on the channel Pixel Circus, where we do a bunch of wonderful D&D stuff with my wonderful friends, and they're very, very talented and cool.
It's great stuff. You should check it out. And then please drop in the comments below what you are excited to try with your Lunar Sorcerer. And check out Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. We'll see you next time on D&D Beyond.